each of the modules, we had learning objectives, isn't it? At the end of the session, you should be, some of the learning objectives will be achieved only after the end of this contact program. You had proxies, assignments inbuilt into the modules and assignments online. So you understood the difference between the two, right? And then this is your contact. And what does the term andragogy mean? Adult learning. So all of you adults? Yes? You guess so, all right. And is there learning occurring? So which means, next one. This is just to say, our team is from Kerala, which is called God's Own Country, not by me, by the tourism department. So if any of you will feel like coming from Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, or anywhere from India, this is what Kerala is all about. And these are some of our festivals, our beaches, Ayurveda, all sorts of things, just to give you a welcome. And this is one of our traditional costumes also, like our Nigerian friend, I wore this particular costume just to welcome you to our state, which is called God's Own Country. And now this is just a very brief introduction, and I'd like to hand over the rest of the session to Sri Kumari.
Thank you, ma'am. So once again, let me say good morning. Madam was talking about andragogy, but I feel myself to be a third-year student when she is here, because she taught me pathology. Whatever pathology I know, I owe it to her. And whatever medical education, she is the one who got us into this, got us interested in this. So we owe, that's why she has chosen one of her early day students and one of her latter day students. Shankar is a younger person who has come into the medical education when she was a more mature teacher, and I was one of her early students in medical education, as well as, of course, I am from Trichur. Even though I am basically based in Trivandrum, I am from Trichur because I am presently working in the Jubilee Mission Medical College in Trichur. So my first idea is to introduce you to the basics of educational technology. So first, it's a simple exercise for you. Can you decipher these lines? Does it convey any meaning to you? Now does it convey any meaning? See, this is the way we can put across our matter to our students or our learners. Put it as simple as possible. Don't think that it is too simple. Nothing is too simple. So that is the reason why we look at education from a system approach. That is the easiest way to understand it. Of course, all of us have heard the word system. It's very familiar to all of us. But let us say from the educational technology point of view, what does a system mean? It's a functional entity, and it consists of a number of subsystems, and these subsystems are interdependent and interrelated, and it functions to achieve certain goals. It's influenced by its environment. The environment may be conducive or non-conducive. Just think for a while whether the system of education that you are imparting to your learners will fall under this. Are these true with that system? Your system or the program, the educational program that you are running. And we have an open system. That means one which can respond to changes that may occur while the system is functioning. That is what you call as an open system, whereas a closed system which does not alter its function. You have planned a program, the program goes on whatever happens. But in an open system, you are open to changes, you can change it at any time. And what are the functional stages of the system? When we come to that functional stages, it will become quite clear to us. See, in our educational system, what is the input? What is the input? The learners. What is the process? That is the educational process. And what is the output? Again the learners. So we have the learners as the input, we have the learners as the output. But what is the difference between the input and the output? We have an expectation regarding the output. So if the expected output and the actual output, they should be as close as possible to each other, then only our system is effective. See, our system may be a very efficient system. We may be running this educational program very successfully, but still if the learners, the output is not the same as the expected output, then our system is not effective. That is the advantage of having an open system, because if after our training program we find that the system has not been effective, then we can of course go back and change the process. So that is the advantage of having an open system. So I hope it's clear why we equate our educational program to a system, and that to an open system. And now what is this process? So most of our day's session will be regarding the process. The process consists of the 3 steps, which are the formulation of the aims and objectives for the program, planning and implementing the teaching learning process, and planning and implementing a scheme of evaluation of the outcome of learning. So basically I would be dealing with this part. Madam will be mainly concerning herself with the teaching learning process, and Shankar will be dealing with the evaluation process. That is how we have planned the today's program. So what are the components of the process? Now the terms aims and objectives, they usually go together, no? What is exactly the difference between aims and objectives? More broad, whereas objectives are clear and specific. So objectives have to be based on the needs, and it defines what the learner should be able to do. See, this is something which the trainer has always keep in mind. The objectives are not for the trainer, it is for the learner, and we must specify the objectives in a learner oriented fashion and not in a teacher oriented fashion. So how do we decide on the teaching learning program? Based on the objectives we plan our teaching learning program, and the planning and implementation will depend on how much time we have. So today we have only one day for us. So we have to plan our program in such a way that we are able to accomplish our objectives within that time. So curricular time is very important. Then the strength of the faculty, experience of the faculty, the learning resources we have, and the teacher has a crucial role, because it is the trainer or the teacher who is making use of all these things to attain or achieve the objectives. So how do we plan the evaluation process? As I said, an effective educational system is one where the actual output and the expected output are very close to each other. They cannot be the same. There will be some way this way, that way. So you have to have an evaluation process which is based on the objectives to be achieved by the learner at the end of the course. See, this is something which we have to keep in mind. We have specified the objectives, and we have to evaluate this learner from the point of view of the objectives specified. So the quality of the output is also decided by the evaluation process. So depending on the nature or the quality of the output that you require, you plan your evaluation process. See, any evaluation process is something which is deciding how your learner should be at the end of the program. So depending on your need, you decide on the evaluation process. So it also provides a feedback regarding the objectives. So only after you run your program once, you can decide whether your program has been effective, because you have to assess your input and then only you can come out with your effectiveness. So that is, the output is the one which indicates the effectiveness of the system, and if there is a gross discordance, naturally the program is ineffective. So this is not the way we have to have our output coming from the program, just putting in some bit of knowledge. So that takes us to another question, whether it is a cycle or a spiral, the educational process. So you find that the educational spiral, it is an spiral because you have the educational objective specified, you give, the process takes place, finally you evaluate, you find if the system has not been effective, you redefine and reprogram the system. So what is the role of the teachers in this process? And we say that the effective teacher has the role of a system specialist. Now we are in the I era, so you have to inform, the IT era is there, so you always call yourself as a system specialist instead of simply a teacher. And the teacher has a role in all the three components of the system. Don't think that you don't have a role in formulating the objectives. You have. So you are all going to be gurus. And what does this guru do? Do you think that he is in a field with his students, he is in an open air atmosphere? Does it mean that he doesn't have his objectives? Yeah, he has. He has a charted out teaching learning program, and he has a specific evaluation process also. We have seen all that. And they are great teachers, but do they all belong to the same class or same? They have all taught us so many different things, but they are all teachers. So teacher can be of different. And when you are a trainer, especially for a program like the bioethics, you have to be imbibe qualities from all these great teachers to be an effective teacher. So a good teacher provides intellectual excitement. The teacher can only act as a facilitator. You leave your learners free to imbibe their qualities, and the teacher himself or herself has to be a lifelong learner to be an effective teacher. Can you see the picture clearly? What do you see there?
Trying to open a big bottle with a small
Opener.
It is actually a painting.
Yeah.
Because this picture had come in the internet.
Ah.
Today
You have seen it already, yeah. So he immediately, he had not seen the picture, no? You were able to immediately find it out because you had prior knowledge or exposure to it. So that is something which you have to all, that is the reason why I brought this picture, because I knew that some of the people would have seen it, so they will be able to interpret it correctly. So the same way you have to look at your learners also. Some may have some prior exposure, others may not have. So he just said what came to his mind, no? He said that a big bottle has been opened by trying to open it with a small opener. That is one way of looking at it. So that is why you have to always have an open mind towards your learner. Now we will go to the major part of our discussion, that is educational objectives and taxonomy.